It hits one. I'm going to share the link.
Not live.
All right, we're live. Nobody's watching, but this is for us. Serve our own personal interests. Okay, let's go. Welcome everyone to level 71 of the Sandbox Gamers podcast, a podcast where three midgets meet weekly to talk about life, love, and the pursuit of vidya. Thank you so much for joining us. I am your co-host with the most, Wonder Rob, coming at you live. Actually live this time because we're on YouTube live again on a Saturday morning, but semi-live for our audio listeners from Southern California. And on the line with me are two of my best Arizona friends in the metaverse. The Ezra Bridger of our podcast, Vactor.
That's right.
Okay, I don't get the reference. And the Sarah Morgan to my Mateo Catri, my Mateo Catri, my Mateo Cartry, the always angry JeffW the second.
Car tree? Is how is how you came up with that one?
Cartrees, and I'm adoring fan. You know, that awesome Starfield character that everyone loves. What a great podcast you guys are doing. Oh, I hope they write a book about you or a movie. I wonder who will play me. Wonder Rob, that's me. You know, that guy from Starfield. Anyway, that get it?
Ezra Bridger is from Star Wars, which is another star related thing. And then I did the Star Trek. So it's related to Starfield.
Oh boy, and who's Mateo Kadadi?
He's a character from Starfield, one of those popular characters from Starfield.
I don't remember.
Is he?
Who is that? I haven't
You
run
tell
into
me
him, have I?
later on
Hold
in the show. You tell me.
Hold on, I'm googling him.
He's googling.
You know, I saw the name and I was like, I read that and I was like, is this the lady that's been following me around in my Starfield run? And it was. I was like, I don't even know what's your name is.
Did you say
She
the
just helps me
lady?
shoot. Yeah.
The adoring fan?
No, Sarah Morgan.
Oh. Okay. All right.
I don't know. I don't know the adoring fan. I don't know that one.
I'm getting confused. 'cause
Those
I'm
are
still up
all
here looking
popular
up
Starfield characters.
Mateo Katari. I'm still trying to figure out who that is. Is that a voice actor? I don't know who that is.
I looked him up on the wiki and I don't know who.
Hold on, I'm looking at.
And I've
Yeah,
played
maybe
4 hours.
Mateo
Maybe you haven't
Carti is Mateo. Yeah, I see him on the credits here. Hold on.
Hey, he's a theologian who joined the constellation in 2325, Rob. Didn't you know that? He's committed to understanding humanity's place in the universe through studying relics of our ancient times.
Hold on.
Go, Rob, go.
Oh, it's this young guy.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't interacted with him that much,
That guy.
but now I recognize him. Jeff probably hasn't gotten that far. I'm just kidding. No, Jeff, you got that far. We'll see.
I'd probably
We'll
run
see.
into him somewhere, but yeah.
I googled the name and like the fifth picture down is a. Why is it a picture of a guy in a shower that says, "Why is everyone so mean to me?" I don't understand why. I'm gonna put this in the show in the. Put this in the Discord because I don't know what.
That's him. He's right there.
Oh, there he is.
That guy.
Yeah, I see it. Do you see the picture of the guy in the shower?
Yeah, that guy.
Not that I'm
Oh.
focusing on that.
There he is,
All right.
right there.
All right. That's a little taste for our live listeners. This is why you should watch the show on YouTube. And guess what? Even though we're recording live, the show is still available on YouTube. So for you audio listeners, you can watch after the fact if you so choose.
And for all the
Sandbox Gamers
Tommies out there
Podcast.
too.
Yeah, Sandbox Gamers Podcast on YouTube. 61 followers strong right now. But you know what? We had 50 last week, so we're growing, baby. That's all I got to say about that. Okay, anyway, I managed to close out my show notes like a ding dong. So let me pull these back up. I
Well,
got distracted
you
with
already
all this.
know this. You already know the script, Rob. What is
I
Jeff?
don't know.
What is Jeff?
Oh, that's right. Jeff's always angry, but Jeff, on top of that, everybody knows is always DTF. What does that stand for? Everybody is
Oh.
down to talk fun. I don't need the show notes in front of me for that one. Have I vamped enough to get these the show notes in front of me again? Here we go. All right, I got them back up in front of me. Okay, so we got a lot of video game news to talk about this week. We're going to be talking Starfield, obviously. We're going to get an update on Zelda Gate. No spoilers, Jeff. I got a new toy this week. Maybe we'll have enough time to talk about it. But first, in the strategy guide section, I see a little prompt. It's from Vactor. It says, "What is your best memory of arcades, and what's your favorite arcade game growing up?" So I'm gonna let Vactor take that one away.
Yeah, this is a question that I specifically wanted to ask the boys because everybody has a different arcades experience depending on your age. Because arcades used to be prominent in the United States, they used to be a hangout spot. If you watch any 80s TV or movie show, that has kids in it, they're going to the arcade and they're pumping them quarters in at Noah's Arcade. But I had a great experience growing up with arcades, and I want to hear Jeff's and I want to hear Rob's. Like I said, because everybody's age will change their arcade story. But for me specifically, I that was one of my favorite hangout spots was the arcade. I had a bunch of birthday parties at arcades where they would give you quarters, they would give you, tickets and tokens, and you could redeem them for different stuff. So I had a ton of fun at my local arcades. And I actually used to have a weekly tradition where my mom would drop me off at Camelot. It was like a mini golf and arcade game place. And my mom would drop me off. She would give me a $10 bill and say, "Make it last." And
Make
then
it
so
last.
I would turn that into quarters or tokens wherever I was going, and I would just have a blast. And we're talking, this is the era of Mortal Kombat, between Mortal Kombat 1 and 2. Mortal Kombat 2 had just come out, and then also Street Fighter 2 Turbo, I think, was the Street Fighter at the time. So this is around that time. But Rob, they had that Gallagher arcade game where you had to shoot the watermelon. I'm gonna
What?
smash some fruit.
Hold on. What, a Gallagher arcade
We've
game?
talked about this before. We
Did
talked
we
about this
talk-
on this show
About Hold on.
Gallagher.
But it's not really
Gallagher.
Gallagher. You're just saying
Yes.
Gallagher. It's not the Sledge-O-Matic.
him. It's a Sledge-O-Matic, and it's Gallagher. It's a live action arcade game. This is full motion video. And we've
Oh
talked
my
about this
God.
before on the show.
Hold
Anyways,
on.
Gallagher
Was
would
he
smash
racist
a
in the game?
watermelon.
Was
and
he
you would
racist in
shoot
the
it.
game or no?
I forgot.
Allegedly,
what
Jeff.
I forgot. I forgot what it was called. Look it up. What the name of it was. But that game, I had a ton of fun with, just because it was something different. It was a live action game, and you saw actual actors. So your eyes immediately gravitated towards anything like that, or things that were, the entire arcade thing moved when you're, let's say you're flying a starship or something. Those were the type of games that drew your attention, but it was the unheard of price of 50 cents or $1 for a game. Did you find it, Rob? What's the name of it?
I got excited for just a hot second because I found on Steam Gallagher Sledge-O-Matic, but it doesn't look like it's an actual game. At least I
What
can't
is the
tell if
name
it
of this
is.
game?
It says release date March 28th, 2017.
Oh yeah, that's it.
This has got to be. I think this is just a special. Why is it on Steam? This isn't what I
think it was
want.
called Gallagher's Gallery. Now, on YouTube, if you search for Gallagher's Gallery, they have the laser disc, 27 minutes of the full content of Gallagher's Gallery. So check that out when you have a chance. Anyways, that wasn't my favorite arcade game. That was just one that specifically I wanted to tell Rob about, that I used to play all the time. But I used to play, like I said, Mortal Kombat was a big one. There was a lot of wrestling games that I used to play that I loved. But I think my all-time favorite. Oh, and to throw in another real quick arcade experience. So I grew up in Japan, in a lot of years, I spent a lot of years in Japan, and the arcades there are all like sit down. Like it's like a row of arcade machines, and everybody's sitting down in their little seat and chain
Mhm.
smoking the whole time. It just smells like cigarettes the whole time. But the arcades never died in Japan. They're still going strong over there. So I always had that experience, the Japanese experience, and then when I came back to the United States, I remember loving the arcades in the United States, moving to Japan, loving the arcades, moving back to America, all the arcades were gone. I was like, "What? What happened to all the arcades?" And nobody told me about this. I came back and it was a ghost town where all my local arcades were. So I was upset about that. But I would say my all-time favorite would have to be Mortal Kombat 1. And I told the story about getting electrocuted by Raiden. I told you that story where my head exploded and all the
Do it again.
entrails came out. I told that story already, but that was my favorite arcade game of all time. Like I said, still to this day, we're about a week away from Mortal Kombat 1 coming out, the reboot of the whole universe. And I'm still over here talking about Mortal Kombat. So it's had a lasting legacy on my life.
Excuse me.
I thought Rob was doing the Raiden. But Mortal Kombat 1 is my all-time favorite arcade game.
Oh my god.
Hmm.
What about you, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, you know, for me, I think I grew up in the era of Vactor's talking about where they were pretty much dead. Like there really weren't, you know, many like just. It was always a, you know, oh here's a pizza place and we have a little arcade in the corner, or you know, here's the movie theater and here's our little arcade off to the side.
That's
Um,
kind of how they are now. Like it's those
yeah,
little places, and then Dave and Buster's is like the
right.
big
And I was gonna
arcade.
say that that'd be like the, and like I remember my dad like is way into like pinball and stuff, and he would
Oh
take
yeah.
us to like I forget what it's called, but it was like a local version of like a Dave and Buster's essentially, right? It was like Magic Castle or something like that, but they had like jungle gyms and you know all the you get tickets and all that stuff. So very Dave and Buster's like. So that's really kind of my experience with it. You know, I do remember like you would kind of look for like like a Mortal Kombat or something, like if they had that cabinet in there. And you know, like to me, I remember seeing like the I think it's four Mortal Kombat 4 with the Quan Chi on the side. You know,
Yes,
like I
that
remember
was when
seeing it. There was a time
yeah,
being like, "What the fuck is this?" You
that
know?
was the first time they went away from the live actors.
Yeah, yeah. And so I remember having that, but like for me, it was really not like a ton, like outside of like your what you would probably call an arcade experience now, just because there was no little, you know, back room place or, you know, little side thing in like a little, you know, strip mall with, you know, arcade games. Even though it seems like they're coming back now, but with a bar in them, right? You
Yeah,
know,
the barcades.
yeah,
Yeah.
the barcade is like the hot thing now. So that's kind of my experience. I mean, like it's funny, like because I actually probably run into them somewhat often. I mean, the last time I visited Ohio, we were playing what's the Simpsons game where it's like Streets of Rage, but it's
Oh,
Yeah.
Simpsons.
that's called The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Is it
That
just
is
the
the
Simpsons?
official
Okay,
Yeah,
title,
it's
yeah.
just The
okay.
Simpsons.
I didn't know if it had a tag on the end of that,
We
but
played that one nonstop. It was
yeah,
The
yeah.
Simpsons, X-Men, and Turtles in Time. We and that
Mhm.
was one they had all 4. And if you were lucky, the X-Men game would have 6. That was you would have the rare one that would have 2 screens, and it would have
Oh wow,
6
wow.
controllers, and you could
Yeah,
play with 6 people. So yeah, that was a big experience because you didn't have that at home. Number one, you didn't have those graphics at home, so the arcade was always better than whatever the home console was at the time. And
mm,
then that was your like getting to play with other people. There was no online gaming back then.
right. Yeah, it's kind of like, you know, I imagine at some point the arcades were more like movie theaters in a way, right, where you had to go there to get the experience, and then you know
Yes.
whereas the theater you can't really catch up to in a home. You know, video games obviously, you know, did that tenfold. But yeah, you know, I would say I don't have like really like a ton of memories of one other than like it was always kind of like a side thing in like at an event where we were at, or like I said, like if it was a birthday at a pizza party, kind of place, like you would have one on the side there, and you would occasionally see some cabinets here and there.
Right.
And I hope
There's
my son has that experience. I hope he has some type of good arcade experience because I don't think it'll ever be like what we had, me and Rob. But when maybe I can take him over to Japan and he can have a similar
Yeah,
experience.
they do and this was a few weeks ago. I had one of the guys from, actually he's a guy that comes in like and repairs our stuff at work. Me and him will chit chat about games, every once in a while, and he was showing me the Phoenix has it's like a video game convention. I think they do 2 of them a year in the convention center, and it's a bunch of the local video game stores all bring their stuff, to sell there and show, but they have a ton of arcade games there. And I think you pay for the ticket, which I think is I think the ticket to get in is like $30, but you could play every game for free. And they have a ton of pinball. They have all the stuff. So they do like a huge thing in the convention center. I think it said it was like, a couple times a year they do that. So might be worth
I
checking that one.
I also remember as a kid putting on my Christmas list arcade cabinets, and I
Mm.
remember trying to research. Oh yeah, Santa will bring me a Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet. But I remember
Right.
trying to research like how much. I remember calling arcades and asking them, "Hey, how much is it to buy a game?" And the consensus was like $3,000. And at the time, $3,000 to me was like today $3 million. Like I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, okay, I guess I'll never be able to afford that, but maybe Santa will bring it to me." But I was a huge. But I think that's the thing right now with these retro cabinets where you can buy them at Best Buy or GameStop. There's a lot of guys my age that are like, "Oh, I can have the arcade in my house now." So I think that's a huge.
Mhm.
There is a market for that.
I just looked up, uh, just out of curiosity, if you want to buy the Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet, the actual arcade cabinet, I found one. Oh, he's showing me the Gallagher video right here.
I thought this was
Oh,
Rob sharing this.
We're circling back to Gallagher.
Oh,
That'll be
no.
that'll
I know.
be for the video viewers. The
I hope
Mortal
he's not in the
Kombat arcade.
international food aisle.
Look,
Racist.
what's he smashing? He's smashing
So
spinach.
that you the player are shooting. These are the images of when you shoot the fruit,
Oh.
and this is what it looks like when you shoot it. So that was the whole game, as you're shooting.
Oh, it was a
different things.
light gun game.
Yes.
Oh man, this whole time I thought you got to have like a fake hammer and sledge some stuff. Look at Gallagher; he's got ketchup on his
Jesus
face.
Christ.
Anyways,
Oh,
look that up
boy.
when you get a chance, guys, because that to me that's core memory right there.
I'd never seen that game
Oh,
ever.
we talked about
If, I mean, I'm sure we talked about it, but I still don't recall ever seeing it. That's a. I feel like that I would remember for sure.
it.
So, a Mortal
Let's hear
Kombat
about
arcade
Rob.
cabinet is almost $5,000 to purchase. That's
a
an
full size.
original.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a full size. You can find these 3/4 size ones, $400, $500, depending on where you go. But I feel like if I were going to ever invest in an arcade, which I have not, and I don't know if I ever will, I would want to save for the full size, baby.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
That's just taking up space and taking up power in your house, and you play it once or twice, but it's fun to look at. Right. Right.
It's like
Like it's-
Animal Crossing. When I make the bedroom, I always get the arcade and put it in there, even though, I would need that. I would need the bedroom from like the movie Big. You know what I mean? It's like an entire condo on like a Manhattan skyline or whatever. I need like the big bedroom. But
Yeah, just as long as you get the keyboard on the
it is
floor,
the
you'll be
dream.
all right,
Yeah.
Jeff.
That's true.
There's actually an arcade place right by where I live. It's a bar/arcade. It's called Coin Op Game Room. It's in downtown Temecula. My wife and I go there every once in a while when we happen to find ourselves in downtown Temecula. And the whole reason I brought it up is because one of the games that they have there is the Simpsons arcade game.
Yeah.
My wife is not a big arcade person, but she will go ham. Arcade
Who does she
game.
pick?
Oh, she always picks
Lisa.
Marge.
Oh, I was
She
about to
picks
say.
Marge, baby.
With the vacuum cleaner.
And they also have, yeah, exactly. And she gets zapped, and you can see the bunny ears in her hair. They also have right next to it the Ninja Turtles arcade game, the original one.
Yeah.
But she never wants to play that one. So
Aw.
I have to cowabunga all by myself
Dang.
on that. Arcade memories for me, I've probably told this story on the at least once before, so I'll truncate it a little bit. But when I was growing up, there was a gas station, or it wasn't a gas station, it was like a independent convenience store that sold cigarettes like that and snacks that had a Mortal Kombat arcade cabinet in there. So I'd always go down there and and play that, stack up my quarters, me and the kids from the neighborhood. This owner of that convenience store knew what he was doing. He knew there were a lot of kids in the neighborhood, so he made sure to put Mortal Kombat in there. And I remember one day going in there to play Mortal Kombat, and Mortal Kombat was gone, the cabinet was gone, and Mortal Kombat 2 was in its place, and my mind was friggin' blown on Mortal Kombat 2. That was a good one. Now, another one that I don't think I ever talked about on the show was there was another gas station by my mom's house. This wasn't the neighborhood one. This was a 7-Eleven. My mom used to smoke cigarettes all the time, so she would go to the 7-Eleven to buy cigarettes. And they had the Golden Axe arcade
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
cabinet
Yeah,
in there. And I loved playing Golden Axe. I don't
Yes.
think I ever got past that first level. But heck, if that game wasn't fun, man, like the arcade version in particular was JeffW's Kiss. I loved Golden Axe. But
That was
probably
actually. Oh, real
Mhm.
quick. That was before Mortal Kombat. Golden Axe was my favorite. And then before that, it was Altered Beast. Those were the ones that I was going back to over and over. Oh, and Spy Hunter. Because I was like, Spy Hunter, this is like Knight Rider. Knight Rider was like my favorite show at the time. So, oh, and then there was a Star Wars arcade game where you were doing the Death Star run. So there's a ton of, it was like, okay, this is my favorite. Okay, now this is my favorite. Okay, now this is my favorite. Mortal Kombat's my all-time favorite, but I had a bunch along the way.
probably my most recent, like this is gonna date my age, I guess. My most recent arcade obsession would have been a game called San Francisco Rush.
Yeah.
Now, if you remember,
Yeah.
San
That was a
Francisco
big
Rush
one.
it was a racing game, but they had it. What was the name of that arcade place in the mall where we used to live? Vactor, GameWorks, or in the
That sounds
Arizona
about
Mills
right.
Mall back when we would go there all the
They,
time.
that
What was
place
it?
is still there, actually.
Is it?
I think it is GameWorks. Yeah, right next to the
They-
theater.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was probably the game I played the most in my adulthood. Anytime I would go to an arcade, because you're right, arcades don't really exist that much anymore. But that was one that I really enjoyed, with San Francisco Rush. But anytime I think about my arcade experience as a child, it's always that corner store, it's always that Mortal Kombat, and it's always remembering that Mortal Kombat 2.
Oh yeah.
Whew, that was a good one. That was a good one, huh, Jeff?
Oh,
Yeah.
update. GameWorks closed in 2016.
All
Is
right.
that the Dave and Buster's like thing next to the theater? Is that what? 'cause
Yeah, I think
there's something
another.
there still.
Yeah,
but
it's still there, but I think another company came in, so it's
Mhm.
not GameWorks anymore. But it's still a arcade place.
Well, good to know. If any of our listeners are ever in, Mesa, Arizona, Tempe,
This is
Arizona,
Tempe.
yeah, I forget. It's been a while. Go check out the defunct GameWorks, which is now something else. It'll be good times. All right. Oh, that was a good conversation. Excellent conversation, Vactor. But I think it's time to hop into the video game news for this week. So why don't you tell us what's been going on? Because Jeff is dying to talk fun.
Too much news. So this week there was a report. Nintendo is being sneaky. They're trying to hold secret Switch 2 demos for developers. Apparently, developers got to see hardware running Breath of the Wild with performance boosts. So we already know that the Switch 2 is coming, boys. They announced earlier this year that there would be no news, but we know it's coming to share about the Switch 2. And there was going to, or any other hardware refresh prior to the end of its fiscal year in March 2024. But VGC recently reported that the Switch 2 is expected to release sometime next year. That's 2024. So that maybe close to the holiday season in order to avoid console shortages at launch. But it's coming, boys. Switch 2 Electric Boogaloo is coming. The developers already got their hands on it.
It says in this article that the Switch 2 hardware was running the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix Awakens tech demo, which was originally used to show off the capabilities of the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X.
They
And
played an MP4 on that fucking Switch hardware. They didn't run that game. Those fuckers at Nintendo. There's no way. There's
You
no
don't
way
think
they
so?
were hitting it. No, I don't think so.
The scuttlebutt on the street, Jeff, is that it's going to be comparable to an Xbox Series X or PlayStation 5, but it's still going to be a handheld. Do you think that's all hooey? That's all hokum?
Yeah, I don't know how they fit it. I don't know how they fit it in something small like a Switch, right? Like I don't know how you push power that's not, on the Nintendo level, like anything above Nintendo level on a device that thin. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I mean, have you heard of
We don't-
a Steam Deck, Jeff? Have you heard of a Zeus or whatever that thing's called?
There's a Republic
Zeus-
of Gamers ally.
That I mean those are small, but I mean me and Vactor have had both of those, and Rob, you have the Steam Deck. I mean, I don't know if that would like translate like the Nintendo Switch does. You know what I mean? Like if you gave that to parents, are they gonna like the Switch? I think is like it's cute. You know what I mean? Like it's tiny. It's like small enough you could throw it in a bag somewhere. Like those are small too, but they're kind of like clunky devices compared to that. But I bet you if they do it, it's gonna be some docked mode bullshit that you're gonna have to do, which wouldn't surprise me from Nintendo and their dumbass. But the I
See,
think maybe
If Jeff looked at this right now, he would say this is half empty. Me
That's
and
true.
Rob, this is half full.
Yeah, boy. This is a half full drink.
Yeah, and so the I don't know. I feel like there could be something good, but really for me, the Nintendo leaks I want are like, let me see some of the hardware leak. I want to see if they change the look of this thing. And I mean, I'm hoping that I hope everything's compatible. There's just that's my big information reveal I want is, make all my games transfer. Don't keep me locked in. Let me play Breath of the Wild, all that stuff. Let me do all that. It'd be nice.
I think it's plausible could in fact put out a modern system. Now we all know Nintendo, they're known for using old hardware and putting out cheap consoles and just making the best of what they have with that stuff. But with the Steam Decks, with these portable PCs that are getting popular now, it's doable that Nintendo could put out something that's comparable to modern consoles.
Mm-hmm. Well,
probably not as great, but they could do it. It's just, will they do it?
In the article, like a couple of the sources were like, oh yeah, they're running NVIDIA's ray tracing technology, and I'm like, anybody here, Vactor not included now, but go put ray tracing on your computer and like tell me how your performance goes. It's gonna take a huge hit. Like even that technology, like to me, is not really there yet. Like some games really struggle with that stuff.
Yeah, you need a beefy GP.
Yeah, so
as our friend Jeff Canada would say.
Yeah, I just like. Can you imagine? I don't know if I can see Nintendo being like, yeah, you know what? We'll put out a $600 console. Like we're just gonna do it. Like
or put it out in tiers. Just put it out in tiers.
Ever heard of the Virtual Boy, Jeff?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we
Remember
have
how
heard
big a
of
hit
it.
that
You know what
was?
I mean? For good reason. We have heard of that, piece of shit. Yeah. So I'm saying, don't do that again, Nintendo.
Do it again. Do it again, Nintendo. Do it.
So it's coming. But something Nintendo won't be doing is any Zelda Tears of the Kingdom DLC. The development team say that they're ready to move on from Breath of the Wild's version of Hyrule. So this is from a new interview with Famitsu. Nintendo has revealed that there's no plans for any DLC or expansions for Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Does this bring a tear or a smile to Rob and Jeff's face?
It doesn't really bother me. The game is so dense already.
Yeah.
I still haven't beat the game. I'm more than 150 hours in the game, and I still haven't beat it. So I don't know. I don't know if DLC is gonna make my day.
Yeah.
Really, when it comes to this game.
Yeah, we'll get into it later, I guess. But yeah, there's just so much to do. I don't like adding things unless it was something like, you know, cosmetics or something like that. Like if they dropped in some like, new gear or like something like that, I would maybe be like, all right. But yeah, I'm surprised people were even looking for DLC for this game. I mean, to me, I'm like, you'll hear about the situation I'm in a little bit, but I'm not interested in playing another entire segment of this game. Like there needs like it's and I haven't even done a ton. Like there's so much of stuff that I'm missing. Like yeah, I just don't think there's any need for it. I don't see. And like, is there anybody that's like even close to like, let's say like 50% of the game finished that's not hitting at least 100 hours? Like I don't know, unless you're like, planning it very efficiently, right? Like I think most people that are playing casually and trying to hit a certain percentage number, I've already crossed an 100 hours, over the last week on that game. Not just that week, but like I've officially crossed into that territory, and I'm like still a ways off. So I just don't think I'm surprised anybody even asked this question, I guess. Like you haven't played the fucking game.
I don't know why that made me laugh, but
You know what I mean?
it really
like
did.
you haven't played the fucking game. Famitsu, come on. There's too much shit.
Yeah. Kotaku, get real.
Well, it's sold just in terms of being a business, it sold 18 million copies in the first 2 months of sale. There would likely be another $1 billion waiting if you did some DLC. That's what Kotaku is saying. So if you want to look at it from a business side, there is money that would be left on the table. That's just if you're a businessman.
Which we
All
are
right.
not.
If you're
Somebody
businessman,
who is not a businessman is Charles Martinet or Martinet, if you prefer. He doesn't even know what a Mario ambassador is. We reported on this. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, we talked about it last week, I think.
He's, as everyone knows, the iconic voice of the mustachioed plumber for the last 25 years. Now he's being transitioned into a Mario ambassador, which is he's basically Mario. He's basically on Nintendo's payroll for life now. But when they asked him, "Hey, you know what a Mario ambassador is? What exactly do they do?" Apparently, he didn't know. Now, at the end of August, Nintendo said he'll continue to travel the world, sharing the joy of Mario and interacting with you all. That was in the official announcement. But apparently, during a interview at GalaxyCon in Texas over the Labor Day weekend, the topic of Mario Ambassador came up. He said, "You might have seen the news. I'm a Mario Ambassador. I don't know what that is. I'm not the retired, as it were, but I'm an ambassador. And as we step forward into the future, I will learn, we'll all learn what exactly that is. But in the meantime, I'll be ambassading as I always have." Woohoo! So that was Charles Martinet's version of a Mario ambassador. He says he's just going to be ambassading as he's always done.
Emphasis on the aciding.
Yahoo!
There was yesterday they put out an official video like they promised with him and
Yeah,
Shigeru
finally.
Miyamoto.
Finally.
And the whole time, well, not the whole time, but several times, Charles Martinet is referring to Shigeru Miyamoto-san as Papa. He goes, "Ah, Papa! Oh, Papa!" And it got a little creepy considering their ages, but you know what?
He's looking a little old.
Mhm.
Time gets us all, boys.
All right. So the SAG, this is the Screen Actors Guild, strikes have been affecting both actors and writers in the TV and movie worlds. We've been untouched here in the video game world. Also, over in the Vactorverse, if you're into comic books, we've been untouched in the world of comics as far as these strikes go. So our content has been continually coming out, but not so fast, Rob, because SAG-AFTRA is gearing up for a possible strike against the video game industry as the board approves authorization by guild membership. So there is a possibility that some strikes could be coming down the line. What do you think? You can, if you want to read all of the information, it's here in this article, this MSN article. But what do you think, Jeff, if there's going to be a strike in the video game industry? What what say you?
Yeah, I mean, it probably should happen, to get people fair pay. I think, especially video games, becoming more and more popular over the last, let's say, 15 years. Seeing like a substantial jump, right? Uh,
I think they make the most. Like if you go dollar for dollar, I think they make more than movies.
yeah, I think isn't Grand Theft Auto like the largest like selling like it's the biggest franchise
Either
ever, I
that or
think,
Call
off
of
of
Duty, one of those.
off of money. I think, and obviously, like, you could debate like probably Star Wars is high up there because it covers so many different things, right? But like, it's pretty high up there, for being just a video game. Not there's no movies or books based on GTA, and the fact that it's up there is pretty
Yet.
crazy. Yeah, right. Yet, so I think it's probably right that that happens, because I don't, I feel like when you're in kind of a budding industry like that, you're probably just getting taken advantage of. It's kind of a space for them to be like, oh, well, these people aren't under contract with any kind of union yet, so let's milk this. It's kind of like, um, it's kind of like it's a little bit weird, but it's like boxing was around for a long time, and then UFC came in. UFC fighters get paid nothing. I feel like video games are kind of like that, where you had movies and TV and all that around for so long, and then video games are in that same realm in terms of writers and all that stuff, and they're just kind of gonna get the short end of the stick until they can unionize and actually make them get make the developers or whatever, the Activisions and all that pay them. So I think it should happen. I do think it's going to hurt games the most, though, because you think about it, like, for acting and all that stuff, like, at a certain point, I feel like a lot of the uh like, the movie studios, let's say, like, they have the content, I guess, at a certain point, right? So they just need to edit it together and then send it out. Video games, I feel like they work on, they're doing core fundamental work on these games, up until the last month of the game releasing, whereas, and I think that, involves everybody involved. Whereas a movie, at a certain point, shooting stops and then they can go, edit the movie, market it for a year or whatever they got to do. So I think that could hurt video games more, I think, from that perspective of you're just not going to have, I don't think, like, Bethesda doesn't have two video games in the can, to throw out. They don't have Starfield, like, just on the back burner, waiting. Like, they still have to, you know, develop up until the last week of it. And then they have to, keep continuing to support it. So um, I think it's necessary, but I think it's going to really suck for games if there is like a major strike, especially for, if we go into beyond just writing and all that stuff. If we're going into like developers and and all that stuff, I think it could be a nightmare for them.
Right. I think if this goes through, it has potential to impact the video game industry, but I don't think it's going to be like the movie industry or the TV show industry. Because right now you think, Disney, all these other people, they're not going to have any movies to come out next year. Like they're running through their bank of things that are already done, and we're going to have this big gap where there's
Yeah.
hardly anything coming out for a while. The thing about video games is we all know these AAA games, they take 4, 5, 6 years to develop, so they can still get relatively far within the game development cycle. They can have people on staff doing the voices as like little placeholders, I would guess, until they get official people in there. I don't know if the writer's strike really affects video games. I haven't heard anything about that in particular, but maybe just the voice actors will be sort of tough. So
Yeah.
and we're just talking, AAA games. Not every game has voice acting. You got a lot of these
True.
indie
True.
games, these popular little under the radar games that come out. Those can still come out, and those will still be a-okay. But your big boy games might be more of an issue.
Would you consider the Zelda, oh, would you consider that writing? when
They got hundreds of those sounds in the bank. All they got to do is it's like a raffle when they spin the little machine. They just pull it out and go, oh,
Listen,
exactly. Just like that.
And I think we all are with the people, the workers in the video game industry. The key issues that they're working of, and it's the same with the movie and TV show industry. The key issue are wages that keep up with inflation and protection against unrestrained use of artificial intelligence. So them basically being, cutting people's jobs and replacing them with artificial intelligence. They want some type of in writing, something in their contract that says the studios will not take their jobs away due to artificial intelligence. So the video game industry wants the same things, and looks like there's 10 possible companies that would be facing a strike. The key ones, I think: Activision, Epic, Electronic Arts, Disney, Take-Two, and Insomniac, and WB Games. So this, as Rob said, this could strike a blow, but we do have some games that we can continue on. Now, the really big issue would be if the guys who are working on the servers, if we can't get our duty, Jeff, if we can't play, the servers go down, we're all dead. We're all F.
Nah, they don't let those people unionize. You know what I mean? They kill that in this country, so they're gonna work.
You know what I just now
regardless.
realized? I could be sharing these articles just like I was shared the Gallagher. I could be sharing these articles so people have
that's
something to
true.
look at instead of our
Sorry,
faces.
everybody.
He only
But
wants
now
to
I'm
share
going to do
Gallagher.
that. So for this
Now they
next
like looking at
story-
our faces. Get a good look,
no,
everybody.
no. Oh, so the TMNT movie that we all talked about, we had a whole episode, a couple episodes back. It was so successful that it's getting a video game sequel. The new TMNT game will pick up where the movie left off and pits the turtles against a new mutant threat. So, like I said, if you want to get our thoughts on the movie TMNT Mutant Mayhem, go back and listen to our Mutant Mayhem episode where we all talked about that.
Is this
But a
is
video-
this an ironic title? Sorry to cut you off. Like, because I thought it didn't do that well, or maybe it just didn't do well compared to Barbie or something. Maybe.
Well, here's the thing you got to consider, Jeff. So
Mhm.
the Ninja Turtles movie had, I think, like a $65 or $70 million budget.
Okay, that's not.
I don't remember the exact number, but it
Mhm.
was, relatively low compared to, more modern fare. Made around 130 million worldwide last I checked.
Okay.
Which technically is over, but usually you have to double your budget in order to break even almost all the time.
Mhm.
Because you got to consider all the money going into advertising. Of course, they didn't really advertise this because actors are on strike, so they couldn't really do it
Oh, right.
how they normally do. But here's the thing, Jeff. Here's a number that I do know, and because you might notice all the right now, the Ninja Turtles brand made over $1 billion this year in toy sales.
Ooh, okay.
That's with a B. So
Damn.
I don't think the movie is necessarily, or let me rephrase. If the movie's underperforming, quote unquote, I don't think that's necessarily an issue because of how big the brand is in terms of toys. So I feel like, yeah, maybe it didn't come out as great, but it's still enough to drive the brand because you've got this game coming out. They've already announced that there's an animated series based on the movie. They are cool. The Last Ronin game is coming out soon. So I don't think Turtles is hurting right now.
Right.
I think this is a odd scenario because normally, like Jeff said, when a movie doesn't do well, they put it out right away on streaming.
Mhm.
This Turtles movie is now out on streaming less than a month after it was in the theater. But I think this is a different scenario in that I don't have any specific details about this, but I think Paramount wanted to put it because it was doing well in the theater. They wanted to put it on home video or on streaming to give the Paramount Plus something. Hey, go subscribe to Paramount Plus because that's where you can get Turtles. I think that's what they're trying to do. That's the only thing that makes sense to me of why they would pull it so fast from the theaters because it got 90 and 97% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like Rob said, the box office, they're already working on the movie and a TV show. And then I think they were working on a comic book, but now we're talking about a video game. So this is a full Turtle Sance that we're going through right now. And we, as in me and Rob, are having a ball, right, Jeff?
As long as they can make a good turtle game, because outside of the beat 'em ups, I can't remember the last good turtle game I played. I feel like that franchise is really stuck into one genre of video game, and I would like to see them expand it.
I'd like to see like a Spider-Man, like Sony's Spider-Man, but with turtles. I
Right.
wonder what this last Ronin game is going to look like. That'll be my
Make it an Arkham style. I said it before, and I'll say it
Ooh.
again. Or a Spider-Man
Yeah.
style.
I'd like to see that. All right. I think that's it for our news. Oh, wait. I added a real quick because right before we were talking about this, right before this episode started recording, we were talking about Mortal Kombat 1, which launches on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, and Nintendo Switch on September 19th. So that's 10 days from the day we are recording this. Then anyone who has a premium edition of the game is going to get it on September 14th. The reason why this came across my desk was the entire story mode got streamed already before the launch of the game. So interesting. The entire story is out there online right now, which that's the whole reason why I'm interested in this game is the story. As I've said on previous episodes, my wife and I, during the pandemic, during the lockdown, we watched the entire series, and this is from Mortal Kombat X until now. Like when they rebooted the series, we watched the entire storyline, and both of us are. It's like a soap opera now. We're like, yeah, what's Raiden gonna do? Oh, you better get him, Liu Kang. You better get him. So we've been enjoying this, and this Mortal Kombat 1. It's insane what they're doing with Liu Kang is a god now, and he rebooted time. He's over here like, all right, I'm gonna make it Earth right here. I'm gonna do whatever I want. So I want to see where they're gonna go with this storyline. And so this story mode is the entire reason I'm interested. The other reason I'm interested is the DLC is looking crazy for this, including Homelander, Omni-Man, and Peacemaker. And then if you're into Megan Fox and her toe thumbs, we've got her coming out. There's Jean-Claude. There's a bunch of people coming.
Man.
So this DLC is looking nice, Jeff. Nice.
Some people are into the toe thumbs.
Yeah. Where can
We
I
do not
stream
kink
the
shame.
whole story at? Is it like on YouTube?
It's in this article. It's on Twitch. Somebody did it on Twitch and Twitter.
Oh, okay.
If it's still up, maybe
Yeah,
it's
Warner
not
Brothers
still up anymore.
Yeah, it looks like Warner Brothers is trying to take. So by the time this airs, they probably took it down. This was from 4 hours ago. But Warner Brothers looks like they're throwing copyrights down left and right.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me see if I can
Well,
try
there
to
you go,
stream
Jeff.
this real quick.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
It'll be on
us-
YouTube though.
We're gonna get a
Stream it right
copyright
now.
strike on us.
It'll be on YouTube because they have the story modes for all these games on YouTube as soon as they come out.
Or we'll be good, upstanding citizens, and we'll all purchase the game. Uh-oh. Vactor shaking his head. He said no.
That's right.
All right. It's time to move on to our Let's Play section. Now, loyal listeners will remember that the week before this episode, Jeff made some big promises, which he failed to keep, by the way, where he said it was huge problem. almost a problem, but it was a huge problem. It was huge promise that he was going to have The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now he said he would have it beat by this episode. Now we're going to talk Starfield. This is going to be our big
And
discussion.
Jeff
I do want
never
to check in.
lies.
I
Never
want to check in
lies.
on Zelda Gate 2023. Jeff, did you complete the task of beating Tears of the Kingdom?
Yeah, so we're just gonna get into some spoilers here real quick.
That's a no.
Yeah, 'cause,
Hold on, let me take off my my cans. That's what we say. That's what we say in the industry.
There's no surprises here. There's spoilers, but they're not surprises. So I had a thing. So the last mission I've done all. Rob, have you done you have like the little 4 companions with you, right?
I have
Running
2
around?
companions right now. I have the
Okay.
air one and I have the fish one.
Okay.
I would also like to point out that I told this was a while back now, but I did put in the Discord. I said, "Hey, I accidentally went straight to the end boss while I was playing the game because I was just exploring." Now, I didn't actually make it to Ganon at the very end, but I made it on the path to which I assume the main boss is, where you go down
castle. Or
where you go down below. You drop down below Hyrule Castle.
So, yeah,
and I made it to a boss rush section.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Oh, I know what's happening here," and so I immediately left.
Yeah. So you actually were in it pretty close.
As far as I know, that's where the and that whole there's like a whole gauntlet you got to get through just to get there, like a weird maze, and all that stuff. So what is?
So what happened to me? So
Trent's out here putting up gifs.
He can't even make them full screen. He's a little bitch.
All right. So talk about Zelda briefly, so we can get into
Jeff never lies.
So we can get into Starfield.
Yeah. So what happened to me was I thought I had the mission that looked like I had all my companions. I had a mission that sends me to Hyrule Castle. So I'm thinking, hey, this is where it's gonna go. And it's going to be the end boss, right? And so I spent hours grinding meals and getting everything ready, like trying to get like hardy stuff to make sure I can recover. So I get there, you fight Phantom Ganon, which is like a side boss. I don't know if you've been attacked by those like the little gloom arms or whatever. That bullshit. So you fight him and you go through an entire boss fight there. And then they're like, well, go back to the little landing village over there and we'll figure out some more shit. So I was like, oh my God. And I used a lot of my stuff trying to get through this part. And then, so there's a 5th little buddy that runs around with you. And I don't know if you've seen spoilers on this, but it's a construct. So it's like, you have a buddy running around. It's like one of those ancient, like, I guess that's the only way I can describe it, as ancient constructs. Like you kind of jump into it and like, so anyway, this was like a 5-hour gameplay thing that I'm like running around finishing. Like imagine adding another quest for another little buddy that's going to run around with you. And so I get to that and do all of that. That takes me like an entire like day and a half of just like having enough time to play it and get caught up with it. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Let me go run to Ganon and let me see how far I can get. Cause it was kind of easy because I feel like I'm leveled up pretty well, at this point. And I got all the way to the front doorstep of Ganon. Basically, I'm at the spot where you're going to have to walk through the door and fight him. But I have no fucking food anymore. So I have to go grind and get more fucking food. And like, I haven't given up on the game. I'm going to beat it. But I just need to block off like another 4 hours so I can go get like some hearty meals and get stuff. So I'm actually really close. I dropped a fast travel coin in front of that door, so I can go right there once I'm ready. But I have to run around like all the duplication glitches are getting patched out of the game. So I was looking to like maybe just go duplicate some stuff and just get like a bunch of like little fairies and everything. Yeah, it's all patched out of the game. So anyway, I was very not disgruntled, but I was very tired of the game at that point once I blew through all the meals getting to the point that I'm at now. So I probably have another like 4 hours ish of playing, maybe 5 hours. Just depends on how fast I can get the stuff I need. But
Jeff
I'm
was
at the
royally
doorstep of the big Phantom Ganon fight that you're gonna have at the end of the game. So
Jeff was royally reamed the
I'm
other day.
close
He
there.
was upset.
royally reamed.
Now, all I heard was, no, I didn't beat the game yet.
Yeah.
Even though we got promised.
I don't know why
you
Jeff
guys,
promised.
you guys set
I
it
don't
up
know
to be
why he
promised.
promised.
I know I give you a hard time, Jeff, but I've made it no secret how long I've been playing this game and how much time I've sunk into it, and I'm doing a lot more than you. So I know how long this game can take.
Mhm.
So I kid, I tease, and I'm just new boo goofing, Jeff. And I look forward to us having a full discussion on beating this game. Maybe a little bit more next week because we've got to talk Starfield. We're running out of time.
Yeah.
We still haven't even talked Starfield yet. So we got to get going. So Starfield is Bethesda's latest opus, just past week on Xbox Series X and S family of systems, of course, PC. It's on Game Pass. There was an early release option if you were going to fork over the money for the premium edition, the extra $50 or $40, or the equivalent of the cost difference if you signed up for Game Pass. Now, last week I said, I don't know, I'm tempted, but I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and pay the extra. Bad news, guys. I paid the extra. I subscribed to Game Pass Ultimate on PC, which I thought I was already subscribed to, but I was not. Or excuse me, not Game Pass Ultimate. That's the one where you get Xbox Series X and PC. I subscribed to just the PC Game Pass.
Oh, yeah.
And then I paid the extra $30 to be able to play it immediately because I had to play it. I had FOMO out the butt, Jeff, and I just wanted to play it.
Just had to have
even though I've made it no secret on this podcast that I have not, I don't want to say not enjoyed Bethesda games in the past, but I have not made the long haul with Bethesda games in the past. You know, you got your Elder Scrolls, you got your Fallouts, and you got all these little things in between. But even still, the hype was getting to me, and so I wanted to play it. And Jeff played it this week too, right?
Si, senor. I got about 4 hours, I think, 4.5 hours in.
Okay. All right. I think I'm about 9 hours in. I definitely spent more time playing the game than I really should have during times where I should have been doing other things. But, you know, that's just how we do it over here at with Casa Wonder Rob. So let's talk about the game. So Jeff and I are both not terribly far into the game. So there'll be slight game spoilers for the beginning. But 6 million concurrent players so far, Jeff.
Yeah.
So I don't think we're spoiling that much for some people. Vactor has not played this game because Vactor does not like Bethesda games or big open world. And I say in parentheses, open world RPGs,
But
or quotation marks.
I shared a little story in our Discord that Star Trek mission you had my attention. Now you have my curiosity.
All right.
But
So I want let's get Jeff's impressions of the game.
Yeah.
How are you enjoying this compared to other Bethesda games in your experience?
Yeah. So I guess to give where I'm at with it right now is I've landed in Atlantis. I've signed up for the Vanguard. UC Vanguard.
You signed up for the Vanguard.
Yeah. Well, I
Man.
read that was one of the best storylines in the game. And it doesn't affect.
That's the Space Navy Vactor.
Yeah,
That's the Space Navy.
They basically make you do like an army, like come join us, and like he tries to like convince you to do it. So,
and that's not the main story, Vactor.
I liked it better when it was called Starfleet. Thank you very much.
Stupid.
Oh,
it's stupid. And so I've done that. I've already gotten a piece of the artifact thing done and back and returned. And so I think I'm going to continue down that Vanguard quest. But anyway, yeah, I would say this is literally like Bethesda, but in space. And Rob, I don't know about you, but like I find a lot of the things about this game to be frustrating. But when I'm playing it, when I'm actually doing the parts that I want to do, I'm having fun with it. I'm really liking the story missions that I'm going through the quest. Like I said, the UC Vanguard, I'm exploring this like remote Earth or this remote planet. and they don't leave you anything, but it's like very tension filled. It is very it's a very fun mission, I think, to have at the beginning, and I would recommend doing the Vanguard, like signing up for it and doing that mission. It's been pretty good. But there's things like like to switch your weapons, they don't put it on your scroll wheel on the mouse. So on the PC, you have to go in and favorite. So say you pick up a weapon, it's just not in your inventory. You have to go in and favorite it, and then it will add it to 1 through 9 on your keyboard, and that's how you switch weapons, which to me is just like not intuitive. Like I would think like, hey, if I'm picking up weapons, like just put that on my scroll wheel. Like, give me something a little more simplistic than like making me favorite a weapon every time. The fucking menu drives me insane. Like, people are making fun of the map. The map is horrendous. It's terrible. But the menu is so fucking bad. Like, I don't know about controller. Maybe I need to plug a controller in and play this thing. But like, so you do like tab to go into the menu or bring up your map. You click M. And then instinctually, I'm like, all right, cool. I see where I want to go. Got this, or I got this information, or I changed this weapon, or I did this thing with whatever gear, yada, yada. I want to back out. If you hit escape, I'm thinking it's going to take me back to the game, but it starts to layer you into the menu. So you go from like, instead of jumping out of the menu, you start to like go back into the menu more. Like it keeps revert. It's literally the most frustrating. Like I can't tell you how many times I like click into the menu and then I have to spend another 5 to 10 seconds like just clicking and trying to get out of the menu.
Does it do that
Hold
thing like
tab down.
Destiny with the fake mouse? Like even if you're on controller, it makes you use a mouse.
I don't know. I haven't plugged the controller in, maybe, but it is hyper annoying on mouse and keyboard. So I'm hoping they like fix that around. And like when you hit pause or when you go into that menu, you have these different sections for like weapon, map, first aid, all that stuff. And that shit is horrendous. Like when this game tells me to fast travel, I've figured it out now, but I would love to see Vactor. Like maybe we'll do this at some point. Vactor should just come over here and I should tell him to fast travel to a planet, or I'll just stream it to his computer and make him do it. It is the most convoluted ass
He's
backwards
He's not
menu,
wrong.
like to just fast travel to a thing. Like, and then it makes no sense like how they put that out there. Like nobody thought to like QA this and like, or I guess they just didn't have time, but just it's like, what the
Didn't have
fuck
time.
were they thinking?
They made this for the last 10 years.
I know. And I look at that and I'm like, man, like you guys really put this shit out here. So that has been like really my main frustration with the game. I haven't run into I haven't run into like a lot of the Bethesda problems that you see. Like, I don't know if you guys remember like the Bethesda glitches and issues with games. They're pretty legendary. Like every time they put out a game, it was like, hey, look at this, cow walking upside down the road or some goofy thing, somebody halfway through a wall, and I haven't run into any of that yet. I haven't seen a ton of that, so I don't know if that exists. So I feel like it's good and polished in that respect. But man, that fucking menu is trash. It is horrifically bad. But yeah, I mean, I think, and Rob can attest to it. I think it's floaty, very much like a Bethesda game. I don't know if like as I increase stats and I do things like that, if like the shooting will get better, because I chose like the soldier class, so I'm running through. I want to go through, shoot things, and go find stuff and all that. And it's okay. It's not bad, but it just makes me think. And Vactor's funny, you brought up Destiny. The whole time I'm thinking like, man, like if they had the controls as tight as like Destiny is like fun to just shoot and run around. Like they nail that feel, whatever that is, they nail it. And this game kind of doesn't. I guess if I had to describe the game, is it's good but kind of boring so far, I guess. And frustrating menus, but I won't even count the menus right now. But like it's just kind of I haven't seen like a must play moment yet or something like that. You know what I mean? I haven't run into something where I'm like, oh man, like everyone here needs to try it. You know, it's just kind of you know, standard, you know, fare for a Bethesda game so far.
Right, right. It does feel like every other Bethesda game I've ever played. I do agree with that. It has that same sort of floaty feel, just like you mentioned. The
Mhm.
camera still zooms in on every person, and they're staring you in the eye while they talk to you uncomfortably.
Yeah.
That being said, I am enjoying the game from what I've played so far. But I do agree with Jeff that this should be called Fast Travel the Game or Menus the Game because you sure do that a lot,
Yeah.
especially when you're flying between planets. I saw a video of somebody approaching a planet from where they were outside of using fast travel, and it took them about 7 hours.
Yeah.
They streamed for 7 hours straight flying to Pluto.
Oh, they just put the engines all the way on. Yeah. Jesus
Yeah, and they
Christ.
just went there. So you can do it without fast traveling if you got the time, but I
Mhm.
don't really
Man.
recommend it.
Yeah.
But I am enjoying the game. You know, it has different gameplay styles. I mean, obviously it's an RPG, so you've got your leveling system and your skill trees that you're going through. Like
Mhm.
you need to, like, if you want to be able to use a jetpack, you got to level up your jetpack skills. Or if you want to get proficient in pistol shooting, you got to upgrade your pistol shooting. But it makes you, if you upgrade your pistol shooting, for example, before you can upgrade it again, it gives you almost or little goals. Like, in order to upgrade your pistol again, you need to kill 20 people with your pistol.
Right.
We
Yeah.
won't
Yeah.
let you upgrade your pistol again.
That's like
Or if you want
constantly
to
popping up on the screen whenever you're using.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or if you want to use your jetpack or upgrade your jetpack ability again, you need to use your jetpack 20 times in battle. Just little things like that. So it's like that you have to try to accomplish, which is fun for me for the things that I'm choosing. Or like persuasion is one that I'm been using a lot. The the pew pew bang bang sections are okay. You know, you
Mhm.
have like 10 or 12 different types of guns. Haven't seen a lot of variety in the guns, but for what it's worth, the shooting is fun. I have run into some glitches, Jeff. The big glitch that I see all the time is when I go to approach somebody to talk, they'll be speaking, but their mouths won't be moving. And
Oh,
then
wow. Yeah.
and then after they're done speaking, they'll give me this. They'll start opening and shutting their mouth like a fish, and it's
Yeah.
only for the first sentence when I approach somebody, and
Mhm.
then the conversation will continue like normal. So I don't know if that's just a me thing.
Did
My
you
PC
have
is
a
having a hard time or what.
have you had somebody interrupt a conversation of yours? Have you had that
No,
jarring experience? It is
I've seen that can
weird.
happen.
Yeah, like so that like so the reference we made, the Sarah Morgan thing earlier, that's who's following me around. She's part of this like group that's trying to find this object that you found in the beginning of the game, like the constellation
Right.
or whatever. And so she's following me around because I'm just like, yeah, I'll just have somebody shoot things with me. I don't even care what the hell she's got going on. I'm doing my own shit, but she's there. And I go to a bar to like pick up a mission to go kill a guy or something, I think is what it happens. And so her character interrupts me, and it is like it is so jarring. I should have I wish I was recording it because like you're talking to a person and then it cuts to her just like no like transition, nothing. It's like the quickest cut to her face. She's like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And then it cuts back to the other person. Like it would have been better if she would have like stepped into frame or something. Like the way the Bethesda math is working there, it just like cuts over to this lady's face, and you're like, "What the fuck is happening?" Like, it is a yeah. The talking and stuff. It's a little bit of a jarring experience. Whenever I'm sure you'll run into it at some point.
And there's tons of NPCs that are just talking about nothing in this game, but
Mhm.
yeah, there's no shortage of missions in this game, Vactor. Like you'll just hear somebody talking in the background, like, "Man, I can't believe that this person never showed up at their job," and it'll be boom, figure out why this person didn't show up at their job.
Yeah,
That was a
yeah.
conversation way over there. Like
Yeah.
these side missions that pop up out of nowhere. So you're not going to have a hard time figuring out what to do.
That does
My
not
biggest
sound
complaint.
fun to me.
Well, you can stick to the main quests very easily. Like even
Mhm.
though there are a lot of menus within the game, selecting which quests you're doing, it does prioritize the main quest
Yeah.
for you if you want to do that. So you're not going to get too lost, but it does give you opportunities aplenty to steer off the main course. So, for example, I joined the Constellation crew that Jeff is talking about, where there's a mission where you have to find another artifact. That's one of the very first missions that you have with the Constellation. Go find another artifact. So I went through and did that, but as I'm walking through that mission, I ran into the situation Jeff was talking about where you have to go talk to somebody at the Vanguard. And he's like, why don't you come join the Vanguard, huh?
Mm-hmm.
And of course I didn't, because I was in the middle of a mission. But when I finished that mission, I came back, and guess what, Jeff? I joined the Vanguard too, buddy.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, because I wanted to see what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they send you off on a mission where you have to, at least the first mission I got, I don't know if it's the same every time, but I had to essentially deliver a care package to an outpost that is on this brand new planet that's unexplored. So spoilers for this mission. I set course to this planet, and I go, great, let's go deliver the care package. I'm making my way to the outpost, and little by little there's just dead bodies strewn about all over the place and blood everywhere, and I'm going, oh no. What's going to happen? What's happening now? And I get inside the outpost, and there's just one lady, and she's like, yeah, Terrormorph is here, which is like a xenomorph essentially, and it killed everybody, and I need your help. You got to go to the other side of of the outpost, and you got to turn on these lights. Try not to die. And so you're all of a sudden you're thrust into this mission where you're trying to avoid a xenomorph coming to get you, and you can either try to kill it yourself or you can set up traps. But I make my way past that mission, and they say, okay, you got to take this xenomorph sample to this person because he's the only person who knows how to stop xenomorphs from being born. And so I make my way to the sample for this person, and this person's long gone. And there's a person in a bar who says, okay, he's over here, but he disappeared because he owes money to the Mars people. So lower his debt, and I'll tell you where he is. And then you're leaving, and another person goes, hey, I know where he is, but I can't tell you where he's at until you get to my outpost, because all the information I need is there, but it was taken over by pirates. So if you can go and kill all those pirates, I'll tell you where he is. And all of a sudden you're faced with all these options to how to find this guy. So I chose, I'm going to go to this outpost and kill all these pirates. Let's see what that's about.
Yeah.
And so I get there, and hundreds of pirates. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not hundreds, but lots of them. Yeah. And I make it like through 3 rooms in, and I'm out of health packs. I'm out of this and that. And I'm like, well, I am not going to survive this, because the deeper I go, the more pirates there are. Mm-hmm. So I opt to leave, and I say, okay, I will go work on lowering his debt. You do a little B&E and lower this guy's debt. Bottom line is I solve this guy's problem. I lowered his debt. The guy tells me where he's at. Turns out he was at the base that I was trying to kill everybody already. Mm-hmm. And I had to go back and still kill everybody. get to this guy. Man. But I was loving every minute of it, because I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. What? I was on the right path.
In the part where Rob is at, so I did that mission as well. And and I think that's like the main storyline that you're running into. The other one Rob was talking about is kind of like a side one, but like I'm getting into that, and I'm like, the ammo is like really tough to find in this game.
Yeah.
So I'm running low every single time.
You got to loot everybody you shoot, man.
Yeah. And it is. And even then, even at that case, so there's points basically where I'm like, I have no ammo. So I'm like, I'm in this gunfight, and I'm running down this hallway with an axe to just go murder like 2 pirates.
This guy running through a base. And I got to tell you, that reminds me of something. Yeah. I thought I was so smart. This is Bethesda really missed a step here. So these pirates are coming at me. All these pirates are coming at me, and they're wearing these special kind of space suits. Like, they're all virtually the same kind of space suits that they're wearing. Yeah. And so I killed a pirate and it gives you an option to take his spacesuit. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, this is going to be badass. I'm going to take his spacesuit. I'm going to walk in. They're not going to know what hit him. They're going to think I'm one of them. Nope. They saw me from 100 yards away. Get him. they knew it was me, even though I disguised myself as them.
Right.
And
right.
I thought that was going to be an option, but I was like, why did you even let me loot his spacesuit?
Mhm.
what was that even for?
Yeah, and then I had when I went through that whole pirate thing, I got to the end and like I was like, man, I keep getting like, I keep running out of breath. There's like a little sprint, like
Yeah, there's an
meter in this
encumbered.
Vector.
I was
Yeah.
going to talk about that.
Yeah, and the lady goes, "Why don't you drop some of that junk?" And I was like, "Oh." And I went in my menu and I was carrying all kinds of shit just from trying to find ammo. I had like 12 spacesuits on me, but I was like, I don't need any of this shit. Like, what's going on here?
It's true. If you're carrying too many items at once, Vactor, you can only move so far before your guy needs to rest. And if you move so far without resting, then your health goes down because the game's justification is that your spacesuit ran out of oxygen and now you're breathing CO2 because you're breathing so heavy.
Yeah.
So you really have to manage what you pick up or how much you pick up. Or if you're going to pick up a bunch of junk, you got to either take it to sell it or
Mhm.
craft with it or something.
And
So lately I've just been
if
not picking up anything.
Yeah, if I finish if I am gonna finish this game or do something, like I'm gonna fire up WeMod and I'm gonna turn that shit off. I'm gonna turn encumbrance off. That is like
Ooh,
one of the things I'm
that's
just
a good idea,
like,
Jeff.
fuck this. Like, I don't, if that will save me so much time, just not having to deal with like running out of breath. Like that's like, I'm just want to do it. I don't have enough time to deal with it. I'm going to turn that off. But it's kind of a weird, again, with the menu being so bad, like Rob was talking about, it's like you're encumbered, but you almost you don't know it because like I hate the menu so much that I'm like, it's hard for me to even like focus on it at this point. You know what I mean?
Right. So yeah, so there's a lot of little things that are not that great, but there's a lot of things that are pretty fun in this game. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
I think giving it a score like IGN gave it a 7, like these 7 and 8s that I'm seeing across the board, I think these are fair scores.
Mhm.
What people are getting it. I don't think it's the second coming of Christ or anything when it comes to
Right.
video games. But of course, I'm only 8 hours in. People like Jeff Kanata, are praising this game like it's the best thing they've had since sliced bread. But they, of course, have played it from top to bottom. So maybe there's a lot more in the game, but
Yeah.
a lot of the consensus that I've been reading or hearing reviewers talk about is once you get 12 or 13 hours in, it really opens up and it's really good.
And I would say 7 too, but like 7 and like I know a lot of people will be like, oh, well, that means the games suck, and it's like, no, it's like it's good. It's just it's not like I don't think it's game of the year for me kind of thing, but like it's good. It's worthy of playing. Like I can see why people if you tell me you love this game, I could see why,
Yeah. So I think it's pretty good. I feel like I'm going to keep playing this, at least for now. I'm not going to drop off of it yet. This is going to go on my list. We'll see what this looks like, next month when Spider-Man comes out and Mario Wonder and all these games that we know we're going to want to hop into. Plus, I'm still trying to beat, Legend of Zelda. I got Baldur's Gate 3. Let's just say my plate is full when it comes to video games right now, but I'm going to do my best to keep playing this game. Jeff and I'll continue to talk about it as the weeks progress because I'm sure Jeff's going to want to hop into it too. But that's our first impressions of Starfield. Good, but kind of boring, but good. Yep. But kind of boring, but the menus, but kind of boring, but good. But fast travel, but good.
Yeah.
That's our opportunity. Now, I did get an analog pocket, but I'm going to save that talk for next week because we're running out of time. So this is the end of our episode this week. Now, don't leave yet because I have a couple of quick things to tell you. First of all, you can find us on social media everywhere. We're posting shorts and video game profiles on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Just search Sandbox Gamers anywhere except for TikTok because that's just under my username Wonder Rob. But you can find all that stuff anywhere. You can follow the link tree in our show notes. That's linktree/Sandbox Gamers podcast. And you can get everything you need there as far as links. Did you know Vactor, outside of this podcast, has his own YouTube channel called the Vactorverse? He's actually all the same places that I mentioned before where he's posting shorts, he's posting polls, and he's talking comics, and everything comic book related every week. Tell them about it, Vactor.
Oh, yeah. This week, we are still continuing our coverage of Jeff's wife, Ahsoka. We talked about episode 4 of the show. We're at the halfway point on Ahsoka. So we got 4 more episodes to continue. We're going to be talking about that. We also did a wrap up of the Superman anime. We talked about the entire first season with our pals from Beer with Geeks, Frank and Tim, and from Animation Fascination, Mr. Mark Vibber, who joined us on our TMNT talk. So we all talked about the Superman anime and what we thought about that. So check out all those things as well as the shorts I'm putting out. I'm in particular proud of the shorts of Ahsoka, which have the Clone Wars style narration, which Jeff will be familiar with. In the Republic, we saw Starfield, the best or the worst game ever. That Clone Wars narration, but put on Ahsoka. So I've been very much loving the reactions that I've been seeing on social media to all of those shorts that I've been putting out. So please, if you would do us a solid, check out all of the Vactorverse stuff across social media.
All right. He's got merch too. I don't know if anybody watching the video was paying attention, but I got the Vactorverse shirt on, baby. Don't forget to subscribe to us on YouTube or, wherever, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If they give you the opportunity to leave us a review, please do us a kindness. Leave us a 5-star review. We'll even shout you out on the show if you even care. I'm not your dad, but, do something nice for once. Why don't you? And